Good evening, student. Five.
550. So 505 is about external confirmation. நம்ம already பார்த்திருந்தோம் இல்லையா? From sourcesல there are two type of confirmation. One is internal, the other one is external. What is external சொன்னோம் ஞாபகம் இருக்கா? Yes. What is that? Yeah, you are getting confirmation from outside the entity, then that will be called as external confirmation. அதை பத்தி இன்னும் டீட்டெயிலாக பார்ப்போம். லைக் அது ஹவு டு கெட் த கன்ஃபர்மேஷன், அதில் என்னென்ன ரெக்குயர்மெண்ட்ஸ் இருக்கு, அதெல்லாம் பத்தி இன்னும் டீட்டெயிலாக பார்க்கறது 505. 510 இஸ் அபவுட் இனிஷியல் ஆடிட் என்கேஜ்மெண்ட்ஸ். இனிஷியல் ஆடிட் என்கேஜ்மெண்ட்ஸ்னா ஆடிட் ஸ்டார்ட் பண்றப்போ, அந்த ஃபினான்ஷியல் இயர் ஸ்டார்ட் ஆகுறப்ப வாட் ஆர் த திங்ஸ் டு பி கெப்ட் இன் மைண்ட். அண்ட் ரெண்டு விஷயத்தை பத்தி முக்கியமா கான்சென்ட்ரேட் பண்ணுவோம். ஒன்னு ஓப்பனிங் பேலன்சஸ், செகண்ட் பாத்தீங்க அப்படின்னா அக்கௌண்டிங் பாலிசி இன் த ஓப்பனிங் பேலன்சஸ். இது ரெண்டும் எப்படி இருக்கணுங்கிறத பத்தி டீட்டெயிலா பார்ப்போம் 510ல. 550 பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் ரிலேட்டட் பார்ட்டி டிரான்சாக்ஷன்ஸ். ஸோ ரிலேட்டட் பார்ட்டி டிரான்சாக்ஷன்ஸ் இருக்கும்போது அங்கே என்னென்ன பாசிபிலிட்டி ஆஃப் எரர்ஸ் இருக்கு அண்ட் அதை எப்படி டேக்கிள் பண்றது ஃப்ரம் ஆடிட் பெர்ஸ்பெக்டிவ்ல பார்க்க போறோம். காட் இட். ஸோ மூணுமே ரொம்ப முக்கியமான ஸ்டாண்டர்ட். லைக் ப்ராக்டிக்கலா எக்ஸாம்ல ரொம்ப கனெக்ட் பண்ணி கேட்கக்கூடியதுக்கான பாசிபிலிட்டி இருக்க ஸ்டாண்டர்ட். ஸோ கைண்ட்லி கோ த்ரூ அண்ட் வி வில் சி. நடுவில் டவுட்ஸ் இருந்தா வில் ஜஸ்ட் பாஸ் அண்ட் எக்ஸ்பிளைன் யூ. ஓகே, ஷால் வி கோ? யா. Hello all. Today we are going to see SCA. Voice clear இருக்காப்பா? Audible? எந்த டிஸ்கிரிபன்சி இருந்தாலும் please let me know immediately. 505, which is external confirmations. Let us just remember the classification which we have studied during SCA 500, which is audit evidence. How the evidences are being classified. One based on sources, the other was based on nature, right? When you are talking about nature, it can be classified further into oral, documented, and visual. All these we have seen earlier. Similarly, in case of source, it can be further classified into internal source and external source. In this particular standard, we are going to completely see how the evidence can be collected externally. How, to what extent this can be reliable, to what extent this can be used, and what is the procedure, and how are you going to evaluate these confirmations. This is what this entire standard is completely about. Okay, so all these procedures we are studying only to get adequate evidence as per SCA 500, which is nothing but to get sufficient appropriate audit evidence. And when you're talking about externally, all the evidence which you are going to collect is going to be from the external source. These are going to be generated from the external source, not from the internal source. And we have also seen that external source is more reliable than what you obtain internally. Why? Because these are going to be completely independent parties. Sometimes we have also seen that what evidence auditor is directly getting from the third parties, that is more reliable than what he is obtaining indirectly, which means through his engagement team or somebody else. All these we have seen in advantages, right? So advantages of reliability of getting your audit evidence, we have seen all these points. And any evidence in document form can be more reliable than what you're getting from paper, electronic, and other medium. Got it? So any evidence which you wanted to reliable, it should be in documented form. So these we have already seen in reliability of audit evidence, and we are going to go deeper into the external evidences part. Okay, so what is the scope? This external information is all about how we are going to the auditor, how the auditor is going to use this external confirmation procedure to obtain audit evidence. Fine. So this is more only about the evidences which is being received by the auditor from the outside sources, which are third parties. Okay, so how this is designed, what is the format of it, and how far it is going to be relevant and reliable, this is what we are going to see completely in this particular chapter. What is the objective of auditor? Be it any audit procedure, the objective of auditor is going to be he should get relevant, reliable audit evidence. To what? To give audit opinion. Okay. So this is what the objective of auditor is going to be. Coming to the definition, what is external confirmation? It can be defined as direct written response to the auditor from the third party in paper, electronic, or other medium. Very simple. So who is going to get the evidence? Auditor is going to get. From whom he is going to get? From any third party. This party is otherwise called as confirming party. Why? Because he is the person who is going to confirm. So this is going to be from the third party. This is going to be submitted to the auditor. What is going to be the format? It can be in any paper, electronic, or any other medium. Okay, very simple definition. And what are the other definitions which you have to know? Instead of definition, I can also tell you that these 4 types of response can be received once the auditor is requesting for the information part. What do you mean by response, first of all? What do you mean by response? See, response can be either if I am making a request, which means I wanted an answer for a particular question. Okay, one answer, either I may get the answer response. Second, I may not get the response. Third, I may get inappropriate response. Got? So these 3 are the possible responses which I may get, and there is an exception to it that we will also see. Okay, so first, what is that? I get a response. This positive confirmation request means you are getting a response in spite of whether the third party is agreeing or disagreeing with the information which is being requested. I have sent an information. I wanted a proof or evidence for this information, right? So the third party is going to respond to you whether this information is right or whether the information is wrong. The third party agrees or disagrees. At the end of the day, the third party is going to confirm you, is going to respond you. So this is called as positive confirmation request, which means a request that the confirming party responds directly to the auditor whether he agrees or disagrees with the information. The information may be right, may not be right. And the third party is going to respond to, yes, the information is right. No, the information is not right. Either way, he is going to respond to you. You are going to get a response irrespective of the situation. No? That is called as positive confirmation request. Then what do you mean by negative confirmation request? Here also the auditor will send you the information which has to be proved, right? He is going to get evidence for this information. Here, in case of negative confirmation request, the third party, that is the confirming party, will respond to you only if he disagrees with the information. If the information is right and agreed, you will not get any response. You will get response only if there is disagreement. If there is an agreement, you will not get any response. You will not get response. In case of positive confirmation request, you will get response whether you agree or disagree. It doesn't matter whether you agree. You will get that yes, information is right. If you disagree, you will get the response as you don't agree with that. In case of negative confirmation request, you will get the response only when the confirming party is in disagreement. Okay, what do you mean by non-response?
Positive confirmation request ko negative confirmation request ko difference புரியுதாப்பா? Okay.
You don't get any response. Fine? You don't get any response. So it may be a positive confirmation request or it could be a negative confirmation request. You are not getting any response. Okay, some things what happens if the request has not been delivered. If the, see, for you to get a response, what should be the preceding activity? The information has to be sent, right? So if what if the information itself has not been sent? The request returned undelivered. The request has not been sent to the third party at all. In that situation also you will not get any response. And in some situations, the third party will receive the information, but they will not respond to it. These two scenarios come under non-response. Got it? So what is the first scenario? You get a response, be it a positive, whether you agree or you do not agree, you get a response. That is called as positive confirmation request. What do you mean by negative confirmation request? You get response only when there is disagreement. Okay. What is non-response? Either you don't get any response for the request, or the request has not been delivered to the third party. In those two scenarios, what is the final output? That is non-response. Here is an exception, which means you have got a response. You have got a response, but the thing is, what the information is being requested, that is completely different from the what information is provided by the third party. I have asked for something, request is something, but what is the response? That is a different thing. Those are not related. Those are irrelevant. In that situation, it becomes an exceptional response. Okay, so what are the four possibilities? First, you get a response whether it is an agreement or disagreement. You get response only when there is disagreement, and you don't get any response at all because the request has not been delivered, or the third party has confined himself or has not responded. That is the situation of the third scenario. Fourth is you get a response, but what the response is required, that is completely different from what is being asked. So these are the four possible scenarios. They have given the definition once again here. Kindly go through. External confirmation procedures adopted by the auditor to obtain audit evidence. So what is the procedure to be followed here? First, you have to decide what information you wanted to confirm. So what is the information which is going to be transferred? Auditor will share the information which has to be confirmed by the third party, and the third party is going to respond to it. We have seen all the four possible responses. Got it? So first, what has to be decided? What is the information to be confirmed? That has to be determined. So first, confirm the information which is going to be transferred. Second, to whom are you going to send? Who is the third party? Find that, select the third party. So auditor, third party, right? So first, what is the information to be confirmed, that you have to select. Second, who is this going to be the third party? To whom are you going to submit this request? That is going to be the second criteria. Third, how are you going to design the request? How the request is going to be framed? What are the contents of the request? And to whom it is going to be addressed? And how the the auditor is going to send it? So these are the possible situations in third scenario. What is the fourth one to be decided? Whether it requires any follow-up or not. You have sent the request, you are waiting for 1 week, you are waiting for 10 days, you are waiting for 1 month, you are waiting for 2 months, you don't get any reply, you can send follow-up request. Got it? So what is the first one? What information are you going to send? To whom are you going to send? How the request is going to be drafted? What are the contents? What is the design? That is going to be the third one. Fourth one, if required, you are expected to send a follow-up request. Okay. So discussing detail these 4 points. First, what is the information to be confirmed? That you have to decide first. Whether it is going to be any account balance or any details or agreements or contract. What is the information which you are going to confirm from the third party? And how are you going to select this? You don't have any proof for that now, so you are going to get information from the third party. Okay, so that is the first one. Second, choosing the appropriate confirming party. We have studied inquiry, right? So to whom are you going to inquire? To the knowledgeable person who has the knowledge of that particular information. Similarly, here also, you are going to choose the third party or the confirming party who has a knowledge about that information. If that person do not have any adequate knowledge about that information, then you cannot obviously select that particular person. Fine. So second one is going to be the selecting party. Third, how are you going to design the request? How are you going to draft it? See, your draft should be made in that way that you have a more response rate. What do you mean by response rate? See, you are going to get information from the third parties. They are piled up with their own work. If you wanted to get a response, what do you have to do? You have to make the request or the draft very simpler way. If it is very time taking one or if it is complex, then you will not get any response. Why? Because for third party, it is not their duty. They are going to support you. It is not their duty, or they are in no way it is mandatory for them to respond to you. They are doing it out of their own interests. Fine. So your confirmation request should be drafted in such a way that it is not a time taking one. It is drafted in a simpler format. And how it should be drafted, the main point to be kept in mind is you should have a positive response rate, which means டைம் டேக்கிங்கா இல்லாம உங்களுக்கு கஷ்டமா இல்லாம எவ்வளவு சீக்கிரம் உங்களால ஆன்சர் பண்ணி அனுப்ப முடியுமோ அந்த அளவுக்கு உங்களுக்கு இருந்தால் that will be better. So that is the first point to be noted. And second, what are the factors to be considered? See, first, assertions being addressed. If at all there is any strong belief you have on a statement, if at all you have any assumptions, that we have to check it. Second, if you have found any material misstatement, whether it includes fraud or not, that you have to consider. And what is the layout and presentation? In what format it is going to be? It is going to be how we are going to present it. What is the layout of the request? And if there are any prior experience of the similar situations, you can use that experience also. And what is the method of communication? It is going to be in letter format, or it is going to be electronic format? Is it going to be through email, or it is going to be from somebody else? What is the method of communication? And whether management's authorization is there or not. Third party will be willing to respond only if it is made from the management, right? So what is the scenario? There is a management, there is an auditor. The auditor is conducting audit for this particular management's entity, right? So he wants to have some evidences. So he's collecting the information from the third party who are related to this management. This third party may be a supplier or customer or any a stakeholder of this management, right? So this third party is more connected to the management than to the auditor. So if the management gives them a green signal, the auditor will ask you certain things, kindly respond. If the request is coming through the management, then this third party will be more encouraged to respond to you. If it is not through the management, then obviously the third party will be thinking whether to respond to you or not. This third party is in no way related to you, right? So this third party is getting benefit from the management. So obviously, if it is going to be anything against this management, this third party will not be willing to share it to you. Fine. So this is a scenario. So any confirmation request, if it is coming from the management, if it is coming from the management's authorization, then you will get respond immediately. So you have to see that. And what is the ability of the particular party? And here you're not going to check nothing but the knowledge or information about this particular third party. This third party is going to respond to you. For the response, this third party should first of all have that knowledge, right? That you are going to check. Upon analyzing all these things only, you are going to draft the request. First, let us discuss about positive confirmation request. This is actually the best response out of all the 4 scenarios. This is the best response. Why? Because you are going to get a response irrespective of whether the third party agrees or disagrees. So if the situation is of any serious one, or it is more material, or risk is being associated with the scenario, then you can go for positive confirmation request. Okay, a response to a positive confirmation request ordinarily is expected to provide reliable audit evidence. Evidence is provided related to it, and if you are happy with that, then this is going to be the best scenario. So, what are the associated risks? As I said earlier, this management, this third party is related to the management than to the auditor. This third party is related to this management. This auditor is related to this management. This person is a common person, right? So let us say that I am dependent on this management more. I'm talking from the third party's point of view. Okay, just think about the third party's point of view. A question is being asked to me about the management in which I am dealing with. They may be my supplier or customer, or I may be their supplier or customer. And I have a good relationship with the management. The rapport is good, everything is good, the quality, what I am expecting is good regarding the product. So I don't worry about their financial situation. I don't worry about their complete auditing scenario. So what I will do, I wanted to make my management happy. So I wanted to make this entity happy. I don't want to be in conflict with them. So what the third party may do, without verifying the information, the third party may say that yes, what the information is being requested, that is right. Yeah, this can happen, no? So there is a possibility for this third party being confirming the information without even reading through it. Yes, whatever the information you have given about this management is right. It is true and fair. Everything this third party can give. So to avoid this scenario, instead of being asking your question in yes or no type, what you can do, you can have a blank confirmation request, which means you can use the format of fill in the blanks. You need not ask, for example, sir, whether the balance with you is 3 lakhs on this particular day or not. Irrespective of that, you can just put it in this way. On 31st March 2025, what was the closing balance of this entity in your statement? If a blank is given, then that person has to fill it. So there it cannot be any like without any proof, that person cannot give, right? So in those situations, you can ask them to fill in the blanks, then giving any yes or no type of questions. But the thing is, the response rate may affect. By response rate may affect, it requires an additional effort. If it is yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, then automatically you will get an answer or you will get a response. But if you wanted to do something and get the reply, then it may affect your response rate also. Next, determining the properly addressed request. So check the addresses before you are going to send. To whom are you going to send, or who is the person to be responding? All this you have to send in your request only. Follow up, as I said, if you have sent a request and you don't get any response within a reasonable time, you can send a follow-up request, but make sure that it is not very frequent. If you are pressurizing them, automatically their intention will be only to respond to you rather than checking the information. They will go for only response, then that will not be useful for you. So give them adequate time and then go for follow-up. Okay, so determine the information, selecting the party, draft the request, and you're going to send the request and follow if necessary. These are going to be the steps involved in external confirmation. In certain scenarios, management may refuse to allow the auditor to send information to the third party. I have said, right? Auditor, management, third party. So the management may refuse the auditor. No, please don't send any information. I will give you all the proof. You please don't contact the third party. If the management is refusing you to allow, then you should find the reason why the management is not allowing me to talk to the third party. What is the reason for refusal? Find the evidences. Okay. If there is any associated risk associated with that, be it fraud, or if any audit procedure has not been followed properly, what is the issue? Why the management is not allowing me to contact the third parties? We have to check the risk for material misstatement. If at all, if you find any risk, then you have to check the audit procedure. If required, you can also go for alternative audit procedure. You can deeper dig into it and check for the evidences. And if what the management is giving you the reason, if that is not reasonable, then you can go for further audit procedure. You can go and dip deeper, dig deeper and check why the person is not allowing me to go and audit this particular entity. And further, if you are not satisfied, then you can change your opinion. You need not give positive opinion. You can give either disclaimer of opinion or adverse opinion depending upon the situation. Okay. Reasonableness of management's refusal. If what the reason the auditor is the management is giving you, if that seems to be a reasonable one, if it is a valid one, you can accept. You can refuse it only if it is an unreasonable situation. See, if at all there is a litigation going on between the third party and you, in that scenario, the auditor is going to ask the third party, will the third party support you? No. Why? Because already a litigation is going between you and third party. What is litigation? The third party has sued you or you have sued the third party. Then you are in disagreement already. In those scenarios, you can ask the auditor not to send information to that third party alone. So you have to see the reason behind why the refusal is made. If it is reasonable, accept, go for further audit procedure or alternate audit procedure. If the reasonable reason is not adequate or not satisfied for the auditor, then he can go and dig deeper into the situation and analyze the scenario. So auditor can get those evidences and check whether there are any material misstatement is there or not. If material misstatement is there, then he has to go for alternate audit procedure. What can be the alternate audit procedure? I have asked certain documents from the third party, but here I am not allowed to proceed further. What could be the alternate audit procedure? I can check the cash receipts or cash payment from my side in the sense the company's booklet, and I can check the shipping documentation, or if sales are carried out, sales invoice I can check, and goods received note, or the other records which is being submitted, I can check all those and then come to a conclusion. I can check alternate audit procedures so that I can be clear. Yes, what they have said is right, wrong. I have to be clear. That's why I'm going for alternate audit procedures. Negative confirmations. What is negative confirmation? You get response only when there is disagreement. What is mean by that? The auditor has sent information to the third party. If the information is right, you will not have any response. If the information is wrong, that is disagreement, then you will get a response. So this negative confirmation provides less persuasive audit evidence than the positive confirmation. Why? Because in case of positive confirmation, you get response irrespective of whether the third party agrees or disagrees. Here you are going to get the response only when there is a disagreement. Okay, so this is considered to be a less evidence than the positive confirmation request. Okay, so in what are the scenarios the auditor can go for negative confirmation request? First, when the risk of misstatement is very low. If the risk of material misstatement is higher, then they should go for positive confirmation request only. So negative confirmation request can be used when the risk of material misstatement is low. Fine. And the population which is being audited, if that is homogeneous, and as well as they are similar in most of the situations. In those situations, you can go for negative confirmations. What do you mean by homogeneous? Those are almost similar, or they have a similar kind of transactions. In those situations, you can go for negative confirmation procedure. And low exception rate is expected, which means no deviation. Here, the risk of material misstatement is very lower. Deviation is lower. Any exception, that is lower. The auditor is not aware of the circumstances or condition that could cause recipients of negative confirmation request to disregard such request. What do you mean by that? The third party. See, let me give you a scenario. Auditor has sent the information request to the third party. What request? Negative information request. Okay, negative request I have sent. Negative confirmation request. Okay. So what is negative confirmation request? You get response only when there is disagreement. Okay. What this third party has done, has got the letter. He was very busy, so he kept it in his table and forgot it existed. What the auditor will think? I have not received any response. So the third party is in agreement with the statement. That is what the auditor will think. So this scenario is a complicated one. Even if the third party does this, then doesn't matter. Why? Because the risk of material misstatement is low. If this is the scenario, then negative information request can be got. Okay, so these are the peculiar scenarios why negative confirmation request is being sought. Okay, so the ultimate point is risk of material misstatement is low. So negative confirmation request can be got. Issue will come only when the confirming party doesn't respond. Okay. So we have seen n number of other procedures, right? Of sampling we have seen, and that is one kind of audit procedure. We have also seen information. What is that? Inspection, inquiry, observation. All those certain kind of audit procedures. Similarly, what we have seen now, external confirmation is also a procedure. The auditor has to evaluate the evidence. He evaluated for sampling, like he evaluated for the other alternative procedures. The auditor here has to evaluate the evidences which is being got. Okay, so what are the information which is being got, the response which is being got from the third party? The auditor has to check for the reliability, whether the response is reliable or not, whether the information is in accordance with the request. If not, it becomes an exception, right? Next, response being unreliable, non-response, response indicating an exception. This scenario is different. We have seen anomaly in audit sampling. What do you mean by anomaly? Yeah. So, if I have, what is anomaly?
What is anomaly, pa? Yeah. How you explain? What you said is right. Put it in auditing terminology. Yeah. The sample is not representing the population. That is called as anomaly. Very good.
That is not representative. That sample is not representative of the population. So I have sent this exception to the scenario for confirming to the third party. The third party will respond based on this exceptional item only. Can this item be chosen as a confirming information? The answer is no. Why? Because while choosing the information which is going to be confirmed by the third party, what the auditor has to do, choose the information so that it is not an exception, it is not an anomaly. If it is an anomaly, it will not be representing the entire population, right? This is an odd one out. You cannot choose an odd one out item to be taken for audit evidence. So these are the scenarios which you have to evaluate and find whether you can take this as audit evidence or not. Whether what the information you have received is in agreement with the request made, whether it is reliable, whether it is a response or non-response, whether it is an exceptional item, all this you have to go through and understand. So that was all about.
Any doubts, Pa? So what is external confirmation? In a situations it can be used. In a type of response வருது அப்படிங்கிறதுலாம் clear-ஆ இருக்கீங்களா? Okay, you have to be sure like in the situation on a positive confirmation request கொடுக்கணும், in the situationல negative confirmation request கொடுக்கணும்ன்றதுதான் you have to be sure. Okay. So we'll start with SCF 510 initial audit engagements. So opening balances. What is opening balances? Yeah. So previous year closing balance and proper opening balance எடுத்திருக்கேனாங்கிறது you have to check. Similarly, accounting policy நம்ம எப்படி choose பண்ணுங்கிறத decide பண்ணிருந்தோம். It has to be consistently followed, right? என்னோட இஷ்டத்துக்கு நான் accounting policy change பண்ணலாமா? சேஞ்ச் பண்ணிக்கலாமா? எது கேட்டாலும் எஸ் சொல்லுவாங்க, நம்ம சொல்லி வைப்போம் சும்மா. என்னப்பா? நான் இப்ப என்ன கேட்டேன்? நம்ம விருப்பத்துக்கு சேஞ்ச் பண்ணிக்கலாம்னு கேட்டேன். அந்த ஒரு சில சிச்சுவேஷன்ஸ் எப்போ? ஒன்லி when the law says or accounting standard says or when there is better representation. இந்த மாதிரி சிச்சுவேஷன்ஸ்ல you can change your accounting policy, right? Right? என்ன படிச்சீங்களா இல்லையா அதெல்லாம்? நம்மளே டிஸ்கஸ் பண்ணிருக்கோமே இந்த பாயிண்ட் ஆல்ரெடி. யா. And opening balance என்ன accounting policy ஒரு விஷயத்துக்கு ஃபாலோ பண்ணிருக்கீங்களோ throughout the year the same policy has to be followed unless and otherwise exceptional situations are there. அந்த situations நீங்க accounting policy change பண்ணிக்கலாம், but the thing is you have to disclose எதுக்காக இந்த accounting policy நான் சேஞ்ச் பண்ணிருக்கேன். And similarly அந்த சேஞ்ச் பண்ணதுனால what is the material effect, financial என்ன எஃபெக்ட் இருக்கு, operational என்ன எஃபெக்ட் இருக்குங்கிறத I have to disclose, right? So இதெல்லாம் போறேன். ப்ரீவியஸ் ஆடிட்டர் வேற மாதிரி ஹேண்டில் பண்ணிருக்காரு, இல்ல ப்ரீவியஸ் ஆடிட்டர் ஹேண்டில் பண்ணிருக்காரு, அது என்னங்கிறத நான் அனலைஸ் பண்ணணும். வை? பிகாஸ் லாஸ்ட் இயர் அவங்க வேற ஆடிட்டர் கிட்ட இருந்தாங்க. அப்போ ஓப்பனிங் பேலன்சஸ் நான் வெரி கேர்ஃபுல்லா இருக்கணுமா இல்லையா? இப்போ ஐ வாஸ் அ ப்ரீவியஸ் ஆடிட்டர்னா தேர் வில் பி லெசர் கன்ஃபியூஷன். வை? பிகாஸ் ஐ வாஸ் த ஒன் ஹூ ஆடிட்டட் தி ப்ரீவியஸ் இயர். ஸோ ப்ரீவியஸ் இயர் என்னென்ன பண்ணாங்கிறது ஐ வுட் ஹவ் நோன். பட் இங்க பாத்தீங்க அப்படின்னா the previous year the auditor itself is a different person. அப்ப அவரோட க்ளோசிங் பேலன்ஸ் அவர் ப்ராப்பரா கொண்டு வந்திருக்காருங்கிறத you have to double check. If required previous auditor கிட்ட நீங்க கான்டாக்ட் பண்ணி கூட பேசலாம். ஓகே ஓகே. So let us go through 510. ஏதாவது டவுட்ஸ் இருந்தா we will discuss. Okay.
505 external confirmation. Now we are going to see about SCF 510. What is SCF 510? Initial audit engagements, opening balances. Okay. So SCF 510 initial audit engagements and opening balances. What do you mean by opening balances? What was the closing balance of the previous year? Taken as opening balance. Right? 31st March, what was the balance? That will be taken. Got it? So definition. Initial audit engagement, this balance is talking about where in the previous year, there is a prior period in which to this particular current year, if the financial statements are not audited or it is audited by the preceding auditor. In those two situations, it will be called as initial audit engagement. Fine. If the financial statements are not audited previous year, then you have to be careful about the opening balances. Similarly, these were audited, but by the predecessor auditor, which means the previous auditor. You do not know the capability of this predecessor auditor. You do not know who this predecessor auditor is. You cannot just blindly believe or think that the statement which is given to you is reliable and relevant. In these two scenarios, you have to go and check the opening balances. So, what is opening balances? Yeah, previous closing balance will be called as the opening balance of this current year. Predecessor auditor, the auditor is from a different firm, or it is going to be completely different person from the current auditor. See, what is the objective? You are going to check two things here. First one is whether the opening balances what you have entered here, the values, you have to check for the misstatements. Yes, check whether there are any misstatements in your material misstatements in your opening balances. Yes, you are going to check for the material misstatements. Second is check the accounting policy. What you have in your opening balance, the same accounting policy for that item has to be applied throughout the period as well as in the closing balance. Yes, that is what we have seen as consistency. So, consistency has to be there in your opening balance as well as through the continuing financial year. So, two things you are going to check whether there is any risk of material misstatement in your opening balance and check whether accounting policy is followed consistently. So, these two you are going to check mainly. So, what are the things the auditor is going to check? Period closing balances has been correctly brought forward to the current year. Yeah, that is important one. And appropriate accounting policies are followed or not. That is going to be the second thing he is going to confirm. What he is going to perform? Period financial statements, he will get a copy of it and check. Yeah, that is what checking of the opening balance is, right? So previous period financial statement, in that what all the things will be there? Profit and loss account, balance sheet, and all the other additional informations. And if there are any contingent liability, notes to accounts, all those will be present. What the auditor is going to do? Check whether these are properly brought forward to the current financial year. And proper audit procedure has to be applied in checking the current period balances also. And during this year, what are the balances which is taken? And what is the audit procedure which is going to be applied there, that the auditor has to be very clear. Okay, if required, you can adopt for additional audit procedures. Okay, all this depends upon the auditor's judgment only. What are the procedures which is being adopted by the auditor? You have to check for the nature and extent of audit procedure. So what does it depends on? First, what is the accounting policy being followed by the entity? And what is the nature of account balances? What are the transactions? What are the disclosures which is being made? And what is the relevance of opening balances to this current year? So how the opening balance are affecting the current year's balance? See, ratio analysis is actually a better solution to this situation. What the auditor can do, can check the ratios properly. If the ratio analysis is in agreement, then the opening balances and the current periods balance will actually match. Okay. If the pre-period financial statements are audited, check whether the predecessor auditor has modified the opinion. You have to check for the audit opinion, right? Audit report, right? In audit report, this party, who the current auditor, should check whether the what opinion is given, whether adverse opinion is given, whether positive opinion, whether negative opinion is given, adverse opinion is given, whether modified opinion is given, what is the opinion which is given, that this particular auditor has to see. Yeah, same points are repeated. Get the copies of the previous year financial statements and go through. That is what the auditor has to do. For current assets and current liabilities, what the auditor has to do? What do you mean by current asset and current liability? Yeah, example would be, basic example will be inventory. These are going to be my current assets and current liabilities. Okay. So what was the opening balance in this period? What was the year's transactions? That you can check. You can physical inventory count can be taken in case of inventories. Reconciliation can be done. Yeah. Check the physical balance. Check the documented balance. You can reconcile these both. And you're going to evaluate the opening balances of the inventories. And you can also check the gross profit and cutoff procedure. What do you mean by cutoff procedure? Whether current year's statements are only included. You have to check for that. So likewise, you can check the opening balance of each and every items. What about non-current assets and liabilities? Non-current is nothing but a fixed one, like, right? So we are not supposed to use the fixed asset terminology. So we are going to use non-current assets and non-current liabilities. Classic example will be property, plant and equipment. How can you check for it? Examine the past records, historical documents, right? So you can check the basic documentations, and you can also confirm it with the third party. In case of investments, equipments, all those you can check the balances of the third parties and confirming parties. And what we have studied about consistency part. Any policy we have to follow consistently. Yeah, what do you mean by consistency? Ignore the spelling. What do you mean by consistency? Any policy which you take, you have to consistently follow throughout the year. This year I cannot follow a policy, next year I cannot change it, third year I cannot change it. Like I am following FIFO here, LIFO here, weighted average here. Can I do that? The answer is no. If FIFO is followed here, this year also FIFO, here also FIFO, here LIFO, 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 weighted average, weighted average, weighted average. That is what basically it should be. If at all, because of any valid reason, if at all I can change this policy, then I can change. If such change is done, you have to properly account for it. So what is the reason for the change and what is the impact of the change? Both I have to record. So this is the basic thing which should be followed, and you are going to see whether it is done or not. Policies are consistently not applied, then you have to see why it is not applied. And if at all any change is done, if it is not properly accounted or not adequately presented or disclosed, then you can modify your opinion. You can either give qualified opinion or adverse opinion. What do you mean by adverse opinion? It is negative opinion. What is meant by qualified opinion? There is a misstatement, but it is not pervasive. It is going to be of one particular area alone. So the consistency has to be there. If it is not present, as well as if it is not properly accounted, then you can give qualified or adverse opinion depending upon the situation. Okay. Reporting by the auditor with regard to opening balances. If the auditor is unable to give any evidence regarding the opening balances, once again, the auditor can give disclaimer of opinion or qualified opinion. So we have seen already, like in very first class, while defining the audit, what do you mean by audit? I have explained you. What are the possible types of audit opinion can be given in audit report? If everything is pakka, everything is clear, then you will get qualified opinion. Yeah, if it is an issue, you will get qualified opinion. If you are not able to give any opinion based on the evidences, you will get disclaimer of opinion. Fine, you will get modified opinion when there is a slight issue over the situation.
When everything's right, you will get unqualified opinion. Not qualified here, it is unqualified. So kindly note, ellam proper andaduna, you will get unqualified opinion. If you are not able to give any opinion because you don't have any evidence, then you will go for disclaimer of opinion. If any changes required, I will go for modified opinion. Okay. Yeah.
You are not completely dissatisfied, but some kind of disagreement is there now, then you will go for modified opinion. Okay. Here, you are unable to obtain sufficient audit evidence. If you are come completely unable to give any opinion, then you are going to give disclaimer of opinion. You are going, if you are only slightly not satisfied, one slight issue is there, which means you are completely dissatisfied, then you can go for qualified opinion. Okay. So this is what your auditing regarding opening balances is going to be.
Any doubts, Pa? Clear? We'll proceed with related parties, Pa.
Next is related parties, SA 550 Pa. So who are related parties? What is the relationship with them? You being in management, you are running an entity. Any party who are related to you is called as related party. So this can be quantified, this can be defined based on the relevant act. Okay. So how are you going to define? Based on your financial reporting framework, if they are related, they will be called as related party. Secondly, if they are having any control or influence in your entity, if they are able to take any decision for your entity, or their thoughts are influencing your entity, then they can be called as related party. And any other entity that is in common control, which means A is there, B is there, C is there. A is controlling C as well as B. In those situations, B and C are also related party only. So B and C, they don't have any direct control, I mean direct connection, but A is controlling B and C separately. Here, B and C is also a related party only. Common controlling ownership, owners of close family members. I think I don't want to explain all those. Common key management. Management is common for both the companies, then they are called as related parties only. See, in those scenarios, you cannot exception is state governments. You cannot say there is a entity called A, B, both are controlled by state government, so we are related. You cannot say. Fine. So this is government sector is completely exempted from this kind of definitions. Yeah, they have given the meaning for control and significant influence and all. So what is control? If they are involved in your financial policy or operating policy, then that is called as control. What do you mean by influence? They are participating in your policies decisions. All the policies which you are following, be it your financial policy or operating policy, they are influencing you. Then that is called a significant influence. Be it because of shareholding or because of the actual blood relation. These are the possible scenarios. Meaning of related parties with dominant influence. So what I mean by significant influence and dominant influence, both are similar only. Okay. So dominant influence in the sense they are using their dominant power on you, but for some negative aspects, not in a positive way. Undue influence we have seen, right? Similar to that. And this could result in fraud. This kind of dominant influence or unfavorable influence can result in fraud. They may get any benefit out of this relationship. Okay. Special purpose entities. Special purpose entities may be a related party when there is a control, when there is a substance of control related to it. Okay, so the ownership may be to a certain extent, 20%, 30% it could be. If it is influenced or if it is being controlled, then this entity will be called as related parties. And in most of the scenarios, if the transaction is based on normal course of a business, then there will not be any risk associated. See, related parties transactions இருந்தது அப்படினாலே it is material misstatement கிடையாது. If it is of normal course of business, there will be no higher risk of material misstatement. You have to see whether risk of material misstatement is there or not. You have to see whether any dominant influence is there or not. If these are present, then you have to be careful. If it is of normal course of business, if the transactions are there, but is an arm's length price, then you need not worry much.
What do you mean by arm's length price? Sorry? Yeah. So unrelated parties நடுவுல நடக்கிற டிரான்சாக்ஷனுக்கு என்ன பிரைஸ் ஃபிக்ஸ் பண்றீங்க? இன்னும் டெக்னிக்கலா சொல்லணும்னா தேர்ஸ் அ நான் ரிலேட்டட் பையர் அண்ட் செல்லர். They have no connection. What is the price existing between them? If that is the price you're going to sell for your related party now, then that is normal course of business only. There you need not worry about all those risk of material misstatement. எப்போ இந்த risk of material misstatement arise ஆகும்? When the price is different from what you're selling for unrelated parties. That is where the issue arises. Okay? Yeah.
About it. Fine. If there are any higher risk only, you have to worry. Okay. Understanding the entity, related parties, relationship and transaction. See, what is the relationship which is being existed? And identify the related party. Who is the related party to this management? So your management, you are going to see who are the related parties to this management. So find out the entity first and check what is the nature of relationship between them. Management, related parties. What is the relationship existing between them? After that, you have to check for the transactions being entered into by the management and the related parties. So check whether the transaction is in nature of arm's length price or not. If it is of arm's length price, you need not worry. If not, then you have to check for the reasonableness of the value of the transaction. Okay. And if it is of the related party transactions, then you have to go for approvals. In case of company audit, you have studied this. So related parties transactions are discussed in section 188 or 184, I guess. So what you have to do, you have to get the approval. What approval? To this related parties, I am going to have in contracts or agreements. The value of such contracts or agreements is this much. It could be 1 lakh, 3 lakh, 5 lakh. I am going to get approval. I wanted to get authorization as well as approval. Okay. So yearly once you have to renew this agreement also. All these you have studied in Companies Act. And if it is of outside normal course of business, then you have to see the region. Okay. So identify the third party. Identify the related party and identify the relationship between the third party and identify the transactions with the third party and check whether the transaction is done with proper approval and authorization. If it is done, then it is okay. If there is no approval, no authorization, then the matter has to be taken seriously. Consideration specific to smaller entities. So while studying audit procedure, we have seen that in case of smaller entities, this audit program, segregation of duties, all these are not possible. Why? Because the entity itself is a smaller one, right? Entity itself is a smaller one. Then how can they go and check for all these other activities? Their day-to-day work itself will be done by very small people, very less number of people only. This is like owner management. In case of bigger entities, larger entities, owner will be different, management will be different. In case of smaller entities, owner will be the management in many of the scenarios. Here, there will not be any much documented processes and all. So here, in case of smaller entities, the risk is higher. Why? Because documentation will not be proper. you will not be able to identify at all who the related party is, who the related party is not. Then here it will be quite an issue to identify the related parties. Okay, here what the auditor has to do should go for inquiry, observation, or any other audit procedure which is relevant. The auditor has to go and confirm. Okay, so if it is a smaller entity, these could be the documents which the auditor has to do to check whether the parties are related parties or not. Kindly go through the list of documents which can be read. Okay. So these are some examples. By going through, you can actually check who the related party is and who the related party is not. Got it? So this is all about the standards which we have seen till now. All these are very important standards, and all these standards you can actually practically relate. Okay, right from opening balance. That is not we have seen first. What 505 we have seen first, right? Yeah, 505. Yeah, 505, which is external confirmation, give more importance to this positive information. The information you can use negative confirmation request. So kindly go through all this. Not 5 is over. Opening balances. What are the situations you have to check? Whether the previous audit was different, or in previous year there was no audit. In both these scenarios, you have to go for checking the opening balances. Related parties we have seen now only. Got it? So who are related parties? How the transactions are going to be checked out. So these are the basic things regarding these standards, and these are basic standards as well as a very practical oriented standards. So you can practically think of the scenarios and relate to it. So kindly go through it. If you have any doubts, please let me know.
Any doubts, Pa? Okay. So these three standards kindly go through, and we still have one more class to be completed. One is analytical procedure. The second one is I wanted to discuss about audit documentation, which is your chapter 6. Either I will plan on Saturday or Sunday. I will discuss with the ma'am and I will update you. Okay. Okay. Kindly go through படிச்சிட்டே வாங்க, like don't leave a gap. So all theory subject தானே கடைசியில படிச்சுக்கலாம். Please do not postpone. Okay. So study then and there. If you have any doubts, please let me know on the class on Saturdays or Sundays. That will be our last class. Okay. Thank you. Bye.